Let's be real, guys. I'm going to be very quick about this. Basically, my thoughts on yesterday's game with the Las Vegas Raiders against Carolina Panthers. We all know that Bryce Young got benched. Andy Dalton came in. We know that Andy Dalton is undefeated against the Raiders. But after that great win with the Ravens coming back and knowing that, this team might have a little grit to it, instead of losing by maybe a field goal or just a touchdown like in the past, that we may can go over the hump and actually get things started, and the momentum after that game could really bring us to a great run. And wow, if you're a Raider fan, you already know the problem with this game. It's a trap game, and that the Raiders seem to play at the level of teams that are beneath them. Teams that, I mean, it's the NFL, guys. You got to be prepared. You got to be ready to play whoever. You could be playing a winless team, and they can still come and whoop your ass. The Raiders' problem is that if they're every year, it's the same thing. They beat teams that they're not supposed to beat, and then they lose to teams they're not supposed to lose to. Every Raider fan knows this. So going into this game, I knew that the Raiders always seem to play at the level of their opponents, especially the weaker opponents in the league. With the QB change with Andy Dalton, I was a little hesitant. I'm like, damn, we don't have Bryce Young in there because Bryce Young plays terribly. He's not ready, even though he's been in the league for a year and a half or whatever. But the Raiders had a better opportunity to really do some damage if Bryce Young was in the game. But we have Andy Dalton, who's a vet, he's a gunslinger. He's going to do what he needs to do to win the game. So yesterday, watching the Raiders play was absolutely miserable. The Raiders sucked every aspect of the game. The run game continues to be horrible, but not only that, the O-line continues to be horrible. Nothing is changing with this team moving forward after the freaking Ravens win. They're still unprepared. The offense is still stale. Doesn't get it going. I felt like I was watching a Josh McDaniels offense. The AP is not getting these guys ready. Remember, we came back against the Ravens. It's not like we had a hot start. It seems to be the same thing every single game. Luke Getsy is absolutely horrendous. But here's the thing, Raiders. That wasn't our first hire as offensive coordinator. It was Kingsbury or whatever his name from Arizona Cardinals. That was our guy. He didn't want to come, and I think I know why he didn't want to come, because there's no QB. The Raiders don't really seem to be moving forward this year. It doesn't seem like they have enough. They don't have a QB. They're kind of, you have a coach that, he's doing what he needs to do to succeed, but a lot of talk needs to now resonate on the field. So I don't really blame him, but I do blame the Raiders for hiring Luke Getsy, going after Luke Getsy when that fell through. That was such a terrible idea. I didn't like the hiring when it happened, and clearly it's the play calling is still horrendous for the Raiders. It's been horrendous for about about 4 years. It's been bad. It's been really, really bad. The only time I've seen the Raiders really succeed, honestly, for a very long time, is when Jack Del Rio was in the game, and even when first few games with John Gruden, but we don't talk about that traitor. The Raiders, I love Antonio Pierce. I love his fire. I love his motivational speeches. I love how his ways, his thinking, and all that stuff. But now you're kind of looking at that. The coaches, if you're not a play caller, if you're not a guy who's getting these guys into sending out the calls and stuff, and you're just the coach and you're more of game time, running the game, making decisions, and getting these guys ready and prepared for the game. It's not happening. It's not. I'm not seeing it. I'm not, which is kind of crazy because last year, I think the Raiders do better when they're like a lot of people are counting them out and they make this little run towards the end of the season. But this has to stop, man. We have to really start playing like from the get go. We really need to get the offense really going from the get go. We need to get the defense, though. The one ace that we have in Vegas was shredded yesterday. The defense was horrible. So many missed tackles. And everybody's talking about what Antonio Pierce said about how guys were making business decisions and not they're going to make decisions going forward. I don't necessarily know what he's talking about. I mean, it could be to Devontae Adams. I heard Trayvon Morig. I don't know. I don't know. I would have kept that in the locker room. Talk to the individual he thinks that is instead of bringing it out. But everybody's to blame for this loss, honestly, and the defense especially. Max Crosby was hurt. You can see that he wasn't getting off fast enough when the ball was snapped. Many times, like he just did not look good out there, and he didn't play good. I love Max. I love that he wants to play when he has to. He wants to be there for his team. The problem is we can't really rest up Max because Malcolm Kuntz is out for the season, and a lot of these Tyree Wilson is playing horribly. The defensive line is not stepping up. Like there's a lot of guys that are not stepping up and didn't step up in this game. And another Raider mentality is they think they have this game in the bag and it's easy. And obviously it wasn't easy. Obviously they got shredded. The coverage once again for the Raiders horrible. Missed tackles. Spillane. Love Spillane. He is a Raider. He was meant to be a Raider. Missed tackle. Missed tackles, missed opportunities, blown assignments, once again, allowing big plays that shouldn't have happened. 3rd and 14, and they get it. Andy Dalton looked fantastic out there. But the problem is, Andy Dalton's going to have a crazy game against us, and then the next game, he probably plays like shit. I think Andy Dalton is not a bad quarterback, honestly. I've ever seen him throughout the years with the Bengals and stuff. But Andy Dalton really tore this Raiders defense apart. And every Raider defensive player who watches the film today, the next day, better have their head down low. Because every single one played like shit. Jack Jones, Nate Hobbs. I think Nate Hobbs is the one that blown his assignment too. The defensive line, the linebackers. What was his name? I thought Amari Gaynor was going to do something, but he really didn't do nothing. The run on the Panthers, like the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL, or is one of the worst teams in the NFL, which is kind of crazy because a lot of the worst teams yesterday really excelled and beat a lot of these other teams that a lot of analysts didn't think they were going to beat. Panthers had their way. The run game for the Panthers was phenomenal. Trooper Hubbard destroying us. Trooper Hubbard. This is just the Raider way, man. This is just how the Raiders have been all these years, allowing big plays, allowing a mediocre offense to destroy us. The Raider mentality in this game was horrendous. And you know what? Devontae Adams, I really feel like if he's not traded at the middle of the season, that this is his final year. This is his final year with the Raiders. How much can you take with the mediocrity that the Raiders continue to produce on field or on the field? Not even mediocrity, just really bad play, like just really a horrendous team effort and horrendous. It's really hard to watch. It's really, really hard to watch. I will always harken back to when we played against the Bears, and that was the game before John Gruden got outed. That was a game that I just couldn't watch anymore. And that was very similar to this game right here. Uh, Zamir White, he can't do anything with no O line. But then again, Zamir White is not producing at all. I believed in this guy, and this guy is not picking it up. He's not even getting goal line touches, which is alarming. You know, Gardner Minshew. I like him. He's a fun guy. There was a lot of mistakes he made in this game as well, but then there was drop passes by even Devonte Adams. Devonte Adams looks out of it, man. He doesn't even look like he's not. It's not a good. It's not been a good ride for him and the Raiders. It really reminds me of Randy Moss when he was with us. So Gardner Minshew, I'm sorry, like I really don't think he's the main problem for the offense, but he's not elevating the offense on a bad offensive team. I think Luke Getzey is so blamed for a lot of what we're doing. These stupid screens, this run, these passing games, not getting his Brock Bowers in the rhythm like yesterday. Brock Bowers didn't really do anything. I think it's time to see Aiden. Aiden, the reason we did succeeded a lot too last year was because of Aiden. There was sometimes, Aiden had a horrible game against, I believe, KC, but Aiden is a kid that has more accuracy and really could really hit a lot of these guys. He's very aware. I like his awareness, even though he can't move out of pocket, and that's going to be a problem, especially with this offensive line. This offense is not going anywhere because of the offensive line. To be honest with you, the offensive line is just horrendous. Like there needs to be moves made. There needs to be signings. Something. Something has to give. All right. I said I wasn't going to talk too much about this game because this game was just horrendous. Like, what is there really to talk about that not a lot of people have already talked about? The one thing I guess we got to talk about is that we're getting sick and tired of this. We're getting sick and tired of losing to teams that we shouldn't lose to. Why is Kansas City so successful? Why is the Chargers so successful? I mean, the signing of Harbaugh and the schemes that they have in the offensive line, brilliant. How did the Broncos kill it yesterday? Against Tampa Bay when Broncos are one of the worst teams in the NFL as well. Why can't the Raiders succeed when it's been taking all these years? How come NFL teams that are bad can't succeed? And why does it take so long to succeed? And I think it has to do with the ownership. Mark Davis is really a terrible owner. He might be a good guy. He might be, I hear he's a really friendly, he does love the fans. He does I believe he does a lot of charity work. Good guy, and he owned up to his mistake about hiring Josh McDaniels. But here we go again. This looked like a Josh McDaniels team yesterday. That's bad. So what's going to change. I don't know how this is going to change. I don't know how this, as much as we speak, Antonio Pierce is great at speaking about the culture and building the culture and being, the Raider team of old. This is still not looking like the Raider team of old. This is still not looking like a playoff team. This is still not looking like anything better that we saw last year. This is not looking like a team that could take out Kansas City when I go watch them. They couldn't even take out the Chargers in week 1. I still think they could take out the Broncos, but it's getting bad, guys. I mean, that offense, if is a point where we might even lose to the Broncos because that offense is that bad. I want to see Aiden. I think Antonio Pierce might stick with Minshew one more game, but this is we're going against Cleveland. Cleveland just lost against the Giants. So if we lose against Cleveland, and Giants are horrendous as well. What a game for against the Ravens to have a high and then bring us back down to rock bottom. I don't know. I think that locker room morale is very shaken right now. I'm pretty sure a lot of the team leaders like Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, a lot of these guys are going to have a meeting with a lot of these players, address what Antonio Pierce said. Of course, Antonio Pierce is going to address the team, try to get the morale back up. But this is on Antonio Pierce too. You got to get this on the coach. This is an unprepared team again, week after week. I'm glad he hired a lot of the, he had Coughlin helping him out. He has Lewis, and Lewis should have had Andy Dalton's number. He should have had a lot of info on how to break Andy Dalton, but that did not happen. There was nothing that broke Andy Dalton yesterday. So going forward, there's going to be a lot of highs. There's going to be a lot of lows. I think this Raider team is the same Raider team as last year, and that's really, really bad. Especially if we continue with the struggles on offense, especially when we continue the struggles on offense. Something has to give. Something has to change. Something has to work. We have to have that one thing that works. With the offense, I think the defense is going to be okay. A lot of injuries, but the offense is so bad that even if the defense lets you down on a game like this, there's no way the offense could come back, especially in the early process of the game. So I don't know. This is Antonio Pierce's job to fix this, to get us back to the correct route. It's his show. I don't say fire Antonio Pierce after the season, because you got to let this guy kind of cook, I guess. But there has to be moves made already. I'm thinking off season. We got to get a quarterback. We tried to get a quarterback this year. I'm not going to go on and cry about that, but we have to see what works this year and what we can improve for next year. But I'm seeing kind of the same team as last year. So that's my thoughts on the Raiders versus Carolina Panthers. What can I say? The Panthers whooped our ass. Well-deserved win by them. Great move by them changing quarterbacks. Do I think they're going to be a all-time top 10 team in the NFL? No. I think the Raiders are just the Raiders, and they allow a lot of this play to happen every year. So that's my thoughts. Until we talk more Raider football, I'm not happy. It ruined my whole day yesterday. My day was absolutely ruined yesterday. It was a very heartbreaking day yesterday, seeing that just god-awful performance. So thank you guys. I would appreciate if you subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment below. But we'll see what happens next opponent, Cleveland. Let's see. Deshaun Watson, and maybe he'll run all over us, or maybe the Raiders defense and the offense can get going. We'll see. All right, guys. Bye.